Hey everybody, here's a quick walkthrough for SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0 and SmarterHUMANIZE Lite. They're both humanizing scripts for Logic Pro's scripter. SmarterHUMANIZE Lite is a free version that we just came up with, and SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0 is an update to our SmarterHUMANIZE script that we released a while ago. One of the easiest ways to hear it and see it is just 16th notes. So this is a hi-hat, just playing straight square 16th notes. Now, typically the way you would have done this would be go into your piano roll, and you would have selected all these guys, and you would have done MIDI transform and humanize. Let's just do a quick test. We'll do that. And it sounds kind of like a mess. It is definitely more human, but it's very messy. And that's a pretty aggressive setting, but it's just to demonstrate that the logic of this kind of humanize doesn't really make sense musically. You see, the downbeat here is now late. You kind of usually want that to stay locked in, because even musicians that aren't that great usually can play the downbeat pretty close in time. Some of these things got moved around. Some of them are hitting into each other now. That can cause hung notes. When it does the velocity, it doesn't necessarily use any kind of logic, where like a strong beat would typically be the louder ones. It just kind of says, this is a note, I'll run a randomization, and you get what you get. So it ends up being quite messy. Frequently to me sounded like a mistake. Even though I was trying to make my MIDI performances sound more realistic, it made them sound just kind of messy. So that's why I wrote SmarterHUMANIZE, so that I could think a musician plays a certain way that's not random. They prioritize things. They can play the strong beats in time, they play them stronger, and the faster subdivisions are the ones that tend to get a little blurred. That's what SmarterHUMANIZE does. SmarterHUMANIZE Lite does this all under the hood. It just basically takes all of the logic of the SmarterHUMANIZE delay section and puts it in the background. So you only have delay amount and randomize amount. So as we play this, you'll hear that the smaller subdivisions get more and more swung. There's more delay, and the downbeat stays locked, and the quarters have a little tiny bit, the eighths have a little more, and the 16ths have the most delay. Now, once you get kind of the amount of delay you want to use, just dial up the randomize amount. That basically gives a random value from original position to the full delay amount. Something like this might sound pretty good. So it's very simple. It might be kind of subtle at first, but it usually makes a big difference, especially if you have a lot of tracks that use it. The important thing is it doesn't really mess up your beat, because the big beats really stay in time, but it allows it to sound a little bit more human. That's what I wanted to have happen. And now we have a free version that everyone can try out. Now, if you do want more control, especially if you want the velocity section, that's where Smarter 2.0 comes in. A lot of new features in this, so anyone that has the original script, you should already have a copy of this. Here is basically the same beat with 2.0 on it. Independently adjustable by beat, by subdivision, and you can set more or less, and you can also just dial in how much randomization you want. That affects all your delays. And then in the velocity section, you can make things louder, like we want our downbeat to really stand out, right? Okay, you can't really do that in Logic's piano roll without a lot of editing, especially if you have, 32 bars or something you want to do. You have to adjust each one of those by hand. The Logic humanization isn't smart enough to know, okay, always make the downbeats louder. SmarterHUMANIZE is. You can do beat 3 louder too. You can even do things like dial your 16ths way down, dial your 8ths way down. Get a completely different feel for some very basic MIDI. And in just a few, movements of some sliders, you have like a completely more musical, completely more interesting set of MIDI that was just because it's going through something that actually, it's more like how musicians work. You can also dial in the randomization on the velocity. That makes it sound even more human. It's really fun to play with. You can get lost in this for a long, long time. Let me move on to other stuff. One of the great uses of it too is to put right after an arpeggiator. Arpeggiator, if you're writing music that you want it to be super robotic, just leave it as is. But if you want to give some vibe to it, let's just do a quick experiment with SmarterHUMANIZE here. We've got a very basic synth. What if we added the Lite version? We'll just give it a little bit more flavor. versus sounds very square. Suddenly sounds much groovier. Okay, let's try what SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0 can do in the same situation. Let's drag the 2 and 4 a little bit. Let's dial up the randomize. Let's start playing around with the velocity. Let's give it strong beats. Let's take these down. Let's randomize this. A very, very different vibe. Let's hear without. Sounds really square. Completely different. Basically, you can just use it to get whatever vibe you want. You can dial it in however you want. That applies to the whole track, so you can just keep it running, and it'll always keep these settings. It'll keep everything musical and flowing. Okay, another really fun thing you can do is use some of Logic's built-in loops that maybe you wouldn't use before because when you listen to them, they sound terrible. So all you basically need to do is drop one in like this one I dropped in. Without anything, it just sounds like this. Nothing exactly wrong with it, but it's really fun to see how you can change it with just a few slides. So this is the SmarterHUMANIZE Lite. Already feels a lot more groovy. Here's without. Seems real square. It seems night and day to me. You guys try out the free version and see what you think. Let's see what 2.0 can do. I already have something dialed up here. Let's hear it. Okay, here's without. Here's with. It's really, really fun to see how far you can take even the most basic stuff. You can really make it your own, which I love. And that's just a loop that you drop in. And the good thing too is that loop's going to repeat over and over again. Usually it would be the exact same MIDI, right? If you loop it and stretch it out for a whole song, but you have the randomize on, it'll be different every single time. So you'll never get the exact same loop. So you get a lot more mileage out of your loops. And the good news is you'll always get your strong downbeat. Whatever you need, if you want the beats to be locked right in, you'll always get them. So one of the things I also found from a user was that monosynths don't do great with humanization. The reason is that if you use a really short envelope, humanizing can shift some of the note values around so that they overlap. The monosynth then thinks that they're a legato phrase, and so it starts the envelope on one note, and basically it thinks it's continuing the phrase, so by the time the envelope is all the way down, it's playing the other note, but you don't hear it because it's at the soft part of the envelope. Basically, you would do it like this. So you would have had your MIDI in there, you would do the humanize like I did here, and you can see with Logic's humanize, it's a total mess. These notes here are completely overlapped. It's just chaotic. The way it sounds with nothing is this. Okay, let's hear after you humanize it what happens. Those dropouts are because the humanize process is basically shifting the notes and it's confusing the monosynth. It's making it think that it is actually a legato phrase when you don't want it to be. You want it to actually play. So this is what you get if you do SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0. No dropouts. It's all protected. I worked really hard to make sure that there was no situation where notes would overlap and it would confuse the monosynth. So that is monosynth mode. It's right here. When you use a monosynth, make sure it's clicked and it'll protect all the relationships between your notes. If you've set it to do legato, it'll keep doing legato. If you have separation so that the monosynth re-triggers the envelope each time, it'll do it. So here's another one. this one everyone asked for, and it took a long time to figure out, but I finally figured it out. Negative delay. The way the scripter works, it's not able to receive MIDI before it actually plays. So you couldn't shift something forward in time until the scripter saw it. But you can use the delay built into the logic track. What I did was I built a system so that the scripter is tracking exactly what the delay is. So this is a loop. And if you do want to have things play early, now there's a new setting in SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0. You can actually dial in a negative delay. The most important thing is you dial it in whatever you want in ticks. You make sure that it's matching over here in the negative delay section. So negative 40, negative 40, they have to be the same. And it does a subdivision here for 40, but make sure they're always the same and it should work. So if we play it now, I dialed it in so that the downbeat is ahead. It's 40 ticks ahead. Now, if you want it to be right on time, you can set it actually to 40, and the 40 in the delay section cancels out the negative part. So now that downbeat's in time. Now it's 40 ticks early. And you can see it when you look at, I bounced some of this MIDI down, you can see it. Indeed, finally, we get a consistent way to make things early, but only the ones that you want to be early. So that's negative delay. That's only in the 2.0 version, not in the SmarterHUMANIZE Lite. Okay, here's another thing that I've been working on for a long time, and I finally have a way to do it that I'm happy with, and that is multiple time signatures for SmarterHUMANIZE. So we now have a whole host of what I thought were the most common time signatures. What you do basically is, say we have a track that's in 3/4. What you do is you take SmarterHUMANIZE 2.0, and you'll see now it has a drop-down box. So we'll set that for 3/4. You got to make sure that it is in the correct time signature. Logic's signature has to agree with SmarterHUMANIZE, or else everything will get confused. All right, so basically this is just the same 16ths. They sound like this. But once we put it into 3/4 mode, we can shape it so we really get this 3/4. And you can even do things like pull everything out, so you just hear the strong beat of the 3. Or if you want a kind of a waltz feel. So that's how it works with different time signatures. You can see the list when you disclose the time signature drop-down box. Hopefully that's useful to lots of different users. All right, lots more videos to come about SmarterHUMANIZE and other scripts that I'm going to be writing and releasing. So thanks so much for this. And if you want to check it out, download the free version, SmarterHUMANIZE Lite, right now at positivepressureaudio.com. Check it out. If you like it and you do want to upgrade, SmarterHUMANIZE is very affordable. It's just $7.99 right now. Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.